Okay, I don't know where.
Right, there's my card.
Stop it.
There's the other card. Alright. One, two, three, four. We got one high in there, 5, 6, 7. I don't know if I can get in it. Am I in it?
Yeah.
8, okay. Left it over there. I'm gonna trip on this thing. Okay. Okay.
You never listen to me anymore. That's something that most of us have probably heard once or twice in our lives. And it has to do with one thing. It has to do with conflict. Conflict in the house, with your spouse, your kids, your family. Now, to start off with, I would love to explain what conflict is. And according to Webster, it defines conflict as competitive or opposing action of incompatibles, antagonistic state, or action. It's an interesting definition because the last part of that has the action. And a lot of times when you say that you never listen to me anymore, that's part of the action. Even though it's verbal, it is part of the action because you're acting towards somebody. But when we're talking about conflict, we want to know about what causes the conflict, how to resolve the conflict, and things like that. Now, I do have an example of a video, and hopefully we don't resolve conflict the way that this couple resolves conflict.
You know, you're just like your...
Say it.
You're not mad at me.
No,
You're sure?
I'm fine.
Okay, cool, because I...
I
Top of the line, baby. You're gonna love it.
A scale? Wow, I lost 5 pounds.
Nice, 25 to go.
5 more to go. The grass. You never listen to anything
Hey.
I say.
Relax.
Now, obviously that's a little extreme, and if you don't know who that is, that's the AB family. They're on YouTube. They're very popular. But obviously with the little bit of conflict that they were portraying, that was really extreme. But it brought up some good points, because you want to look at some of the different conflicts that we have in our lives. And some of the conflicts that you might have with your family would be things such as money, your work, and just simply not enough time. With money, money isn't really the huge problem, it's the fear that comes with money. Because you're afraid that you won't have say-so in the important issues. You're afraid that there might not be security. And you're afraid of the big B word, budget. Budget is one of the biggest ones that people struggle with. And Lynn McNabb suggests that for a budget, when you create one as a family, that you also create something where your spouse or your kids can spend a certain amount of money without any questions being asked. So, for an example, you could say, I don't know, $100. And with that $100, that person can go and spend whatever they want out of that $100 on whatever they want without any questions asked. Of course, you have to be reasonable. I mean, you're not going to go and buy $100 worth of gum, I would hope not. But it is something to consider. And with that, the money also comes with work. Now, some of us are working, some of us aren't. But work can cause trouble and cause conflict in your lives. You have your work that you need to keep at work, and then your home life that you need to keep at home. An example of work keeping it at work would be to, if you were working and you had a problem with one of your coworkers, and of course, you know, it's one of those coworkers where they wait just for the last minute and they just rub you wrong. And then you bring that home and you take that out on your family. And that can cause conflict. Likewise, leaving your home at home will help you resolve that conflict. Because say you're heading to work, and just before you leave for work, you and your spouse, your kids, that you argue about who did not do the dishes. And then you take that to work, and then it just brings your whole workday down. You need to leave your home at home and your work at work. And then with work, you also want to find time for your family. Now, it's not just saying, well, I'm going to just do this or I'm going to do that. You actually have to pursue time. You have to pursue it like you're going to want to spend time with your spouse or with your kids. Have a date night. Have a family night. Have a father-son night. A mother-daughter night. And everything like that. By doing that, you're creating time in order to resolve that conflict. When you're on that time, don't let other things distract you. Put your cell phone aside. Don't worry about things that are going on in the world. And you'll find that that can actually help resolve conflicts in the future and also prevent conflicts from happening. So just to give you a little bit of a brief review, some of the things that can cause problems would be our work, our money, and our time. And if we work on each one of those, we can actually work at resolving conflict within our families. Thank you. Now, I do have a time where if you have any questions regarding to the speech, I will try to answer them if y'all have any questions. No questions? All right. Thank you all so much for coming.